We're gathering items, dodging agents, and phoning home. That's right, it's E.T., the Extra-Terrestrial, light years from home game from Funko Games. Based on the classic film from 1982, 2 to 4 players take on the role of kids, riding their bikes through the neighborhoods of the San Fernando Valley, attempting to gather items for E.T. so he can construct a way to phone home. However, local cops and special agents are hot on the trail and attempting to capture both the kids and E.T. If the kids can reunite E.T. with his mothership in the forest clearing, they will win the game. Setup begins with the game board placed in the center of the table. The board features a neighborhood containing spaces. These are labeled with white dots. Roads labeled in gray and lined orthogonally. Shortcuts labeled in orange and formed diagonally. And zones, those areas between the dots and roads. Shortcuts cut through zones. Additionally, dots adjacent to the zones are considered nearby. The 5 larger areas on the map are each divided into 2 zones. I think it's good if we go ahead and acknowledge the city planners here and what a nice job they did lining up each of these special little blocks and zones. Next, shuffle the E.T. power cards and set them in a face-down deck nearby. Draw and reveal 3 cards from the deck, setting them in a face-up row. Mix up the item tiles and place 1 face down in each zone on the board, with the exception of the zones with dice symbols and the forest clearing. Each player in the game now selects a kid to play. They take the matching mat, figure, and assigned agent mover denoted by color. The agents each start in the middle forest space marked with this symbol. Place the special agent known as keys in that space as well. Set the cop car movers on their matching lettered spaces of the board and place the kids and E.T. on the corner space of Elliot's house. E.T. begins the game outside of a bike basket. Next, place E.T.'s heart dial to 6 and set it near the board along with its reference card. Take 3 candy tokens and place them next to the reference card to form the kids' shared candy pool. That's right, these kids share. Place the remaining 3 candy tokens and all 6 dice into a supply nearby. Finally, set the mothership on the starting space of the mothership track. Gameplay occurs in turns, each divided into 3 steps. Take actions, phone home, and move enemies. First up, in the take action step, the active player takes up to 3 basic actions. They can take them in any order and take the same action multiple times, but must always complete an action before starting a new one, unless they are taking a free action. Free actions can be taken unlimited times. Let's look at the actions. In basic actions, we have move, take candy, and pick up an item or device. Move. This allows the player to move their kid up to 2 spaces on the board via roads or shortcuts. When moving, if a kid enters a space with a ramp, they may immediately jump up to 2 spaces in a straight orthogonal line in any direction. They can jump over zones and enemies, and if they hit another ramp, they can immediately jump again. But beware, when moving, a kid can go through or onto a space with an enemy piece. This is known as a dangerous move and prompts a roll of the danger die. More on what that does in a sec. Take a candy. This allows the active player to move 1 candy token from the supply to the shared candy pool, up to a maximum of 6. The colors on the candy don't matter for game effects, it's just a delicious coating. More on candy effects soon. Pick up an item or device. This allows the kid to pick up 1 item tile or device die in a nearby zone. Nearby applies to zones adjacent to the current space. Let's look at some of the item options. Ramps are placed immediately on any nearby space. Device items. They come in 3 colors, green, orange, and blue. Additionally, a wild device acts as any color. Picked up items are placed on a kid's mat up to a limit of 2 items. If a third is picked up, 1 of them must be discarded to a nearby zone. device dice can also be added to a kid's basket. Baskets have a capacity of 1, either a die or ET, but that's all it's going to fit in there, so that'll help you remember. Note, when picking up a zone with an enemy nearby, that's known as a dangerous pickup and prompts an immediate roll of the danger die. Okay, let's look at the free actions. Drop an item or device. This allows a kid to drop either an item tile or device die into a nearby zone. Move ET with candy allows a kid to remove a candy token from the shared pool back to the supply. For each token discarded, they may move ET 1 space in any direction. ET cannot enter a space with an enemy. Pick up or drop ET. If ET is on the active kid's space, they may put him in their basket. Carrying ET allows players to move ET along with their figure when moving. Use one ET power card. If ET is in their basket, the active player can use one of ET's power cards from the face-up options near the board. Though this is a free action, this can only be used once per turn. After the card is resolved, discard it and replace it with a new card from the deck. If the deck is ever empty, shuffle the discard into a new draw deck. Team up. This is super cool. It allows 1 or more kids in the same space to connect their bases together. When teamed up in this way, the kids move with each other whenever one of them would move, use the other kid's special ability as if it were their own, and freely trade item tiles, device dice, and even ET. One big note here, when a kid ends their turn in the same space as another kid, even if they're not teamed up, they draw the attention of the enemies. More on this when we get to the move enemies step. Build a device. This free action allows players to construct a communication method to call ET's mothership. In order to use this action, the kids must have collected 4 items of the same color and dropped them in their matching colored zone of the game board. At any point when ET is nearby a zone which has all 4 tokens inside, ET builds the device, discarding the tokens and replacing them with a device die of the matching color. On their turn, a player can pick up a die into their basket. If they manage to drop it off in the forest clearing, the die will be rolled in the phone home step. After a device die is dropped off, additional item tiles of the matching color can also be dropped off into the forest clearing. This moves the mothership 1 space forward on its track. If a wild is dropped off in this way, the mothership moves 1 space per die in the forest clearing. Next, in the phone home step, all dice in the forest clearing are rolled. If none are in the clearing, you can skip this step. For each phone home symbol rolled, the mothership moves 1 space closer to the forest clearing. Once the mothership reaches the space in the center of the clearing, this step is skipped and the dice can be removed from the game. The mothership is totally ready to pick up ET. Finally, in the move enemies step, the active player rolls the 2 dark blue enemy dice. If their kid is in the same space as ET or another kid, they also must roll the red danger die. Based on the symbols rolled, the player moves enemies on the board closer to their associated kid by any legal path. And remember, only kids can use shortcuts. If an enemy is ever on the same space as ET or a kid, even if it's not their assigned kid, they end their movement for the turn, whether or not that causes them to stay in their current space. Let's look at the dice results options. Cop cars move the associated car 1 space along its dotted path toward the forest clearing. Once at its final destination, the cop car remains there for the game and this result is ignored. Badges move the player's associated agent 1 or 2 spaces toward their kid based on the number rolled. A badge with an exclamation point moves all assigned agents 1 space closer to their associated kids. This doesn't apply to Special Agent Keys. His result moves him, and him only, 1 space closer to ET. A 2X symbol doubles the movement rolled on the other enemy die. Ooh. The danger die also has results for moving keys twice and moving a cop car of the player's choice. Once all dice results have been resolved, check to see if an enemy shares a space with ET or a kid. If so, they are caught. If E.T. is caught, his heartlight dial is lowered by 1, and Special Agent Keys is placed in E.T.'s current space if he's not already there. If a kid is caught, E.T.'s heartlight is lowered by 1, and that kid must drop all their items and objects in their basket to any nearby zones of their choosing. They are then returned to the starting space. Turns continue with kids grabbing items, enemies chasing, and E.T. trying to phone home. The game can end in one of 3 ways. If the cops surround the forest clearing by having all 3 cop cars reach their end space, they've blocked the clearing and the players lose. If E.T.'s heartlight dial reaches 0, E.T. is too weak to return home and the players lose. But if the mothership is in the forest clearing and E.T. is at one of the 4 nearby spaces, he returns to his home planet and the players win the game. And that's the basics of E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial Light Years from Home game. I'm Becca Scott, and remember kids, keep your friends close and your candy closer. You can watch me teach this game and other awesome games right here on Geek and Sundry. We'll see you next time!